China began to take a special interest in Tanzania's development. It would eventually contribute more than $2 billion in economic aid, more than it gave to any other country. As the friendship between the two countries deepened, Nyerere's vision of socialism seemed to veer more and more toward the Chinese model. And life in Tanzania began to revolve increasingly around Nyerere's single party.
After the one-party system was implemented, the country became more and more authoritarian. Party youth wing, for example, was established that would go around sort of imitating the Red Guards in China. The major newspapers were party paper. The broadcast media was entirely under government control. The independent trade union movement was absorbed into the ruling party. Virtually all independent association life was either suppressed or brought under the control of the party.
In 1967, the country began to overhaul its schools, casting off the old Western system. Students would now learn practical trade skills and socialist ideology.
Practical education in science, physics, chemistry, and biology ceased. And they say this is now triumph, but as for us, it was the end of everything.
Christopher M. Tequila is the pastor of the Full Salvation Church in Dar es Salaam and the leader of a Tanzanian opposition party. He has been arrested more than 24 times for his political activity. His problems with the government began while he was in secondary school.
All the teachers were from the West, and they taught us the sanctity of human life and dignity and all these things. Then all of a sudden, we were told that those people who were told to call as our brothers because they love democracy, human rights, now we should call them imperialists and all these things. I was confused.
The Tanzanian people did not embrace all aspects of Nyerere's socialist experiment. As much as he urged them, they simply were not moving to the Ujamaa villages. In 1973, Nyerere lost patience. He ordered all Tanzanians to relocate to the planned villages within 3 years. There were problems from the start.
During the execution of the program, there were mistakes. Sometimes a village could be taken to a place with no access of water, you see. Sometimes the people who performed the task were too brutal. At times it happened.
We were taken by surprise when the trucks came to relocate us. We had to leave the cashew nuts in the orchard just when they were ready for harvest.
Zaituni Abbasi's village was relocated to Gezalole in 1974. Not everyone wanted to go.
Some of them were happy to come here and are with us through to this day. But others tried to escape and run away. That's why that place over there is called the mango tree of the militia. It's because the militia had to be deployed at that mango tree to keep them under control and keep them from escaping.
The villages were disastrous for food production. In 1970, Tanzania had produced enough surplus corn to export more than 500,000 tons a year. Just 4 years later, the country had to import nearly as much just to feed itself. Tanzania's government-owned industries were in no better shape. Typical was the massive Morogoro shoe factory. By the early 1980s, it operated at 4% of capacity. Conflict on Tanzania's border with Uganda and an international oil crisis struck a further blow to the economy.
After the war, things got tough. There was a shortage of a lot of things. I remember personally walking to Kenya to come back with toothpaste, bathing soap, and things like that. There was also a shortage of food. There had been a famine. So things were bad. Things were bad.
Julius Nyerere had succeeded in creating a nation. But socialism had failed to make it prosper.
For many in the West, mostly on the left side of the political spectrum, Third World socialism seemed an antidote to Soviet-style communism. But nations that took this path, like Tanzania, did not leap forward. In contrast, those that embraced private ownership and foreign trade, like Taiwan, South Korea, Hong Kong, and Singapore, boomed. These so-called little tigers provided a vivid rebuttal to socialist rhetoric. Be sure to join us again for the concluding episode of Heaven on Earth, the rise and fall of socialism. For Think Tank, I'm Ben Wattenberg.
To learn more about Heaven on Earth, the rise and fall of socialism, visit us online at pbs.org. You'll find complete interviews and more about the people and events that shape socialism around the world.
Next time, in the East, communism falls, while social democracy is reinvented in the West. What shape will socialism take in the 21st century? Find out next time on the conclusion of Heaven on Earth.